All right, it's Damien from Marketing Food Online. So we are going to cover the 10 reasons why you shouldn't open a food truck. Now you're probably thinking, Damien, all of your videos are pretty powerfully energetic and positive. Why are you going to dive into the negatives about it? Well, the realities of food business as a whole is that there's always pros and there's always going to be cons. And with the food truck industry, it is a really big balancing act to make it profitable, successful, and scaling it. So I'm going to go over those 10 reasons why you shouldn't open a food truck right now. All right, so it's Damien, we're back. As I mentioned in the introduction, we are gonna cover the 10 reasons why you shouldn't open a food truck and what are the disadvantages of owning a food truck. Now, as I always try to do in my videos, I try to generate positive vibes and give you great information to actually give you a reason why to start a food business. But these are gonna be the 10 reasons why you shouldn't. But you know, the one thing that's really interesting is that when you become an entrepreneur, knowing the reasons why you should and you shouldn't are actually good things, knowing both the positives and negatives and the pros and the cons. Before we do, as always, welcome to Marketing Food Online. So I am Damien Roberti. If this is your first video, welcome to Marketing Food Online. I am a food entrepreneur. I've created Marketing Food Online YouTube channel specifically for the reason to help you get your food business up and running. I've been one for about 13 years now, 12 to 13 years, we're going on next year. But I've been in the food industry for a little bit over 30 years. I started bussing tables at restaurants, worked my way through college, and I managed some grocery stores as well and was a supervisor. So I've got quite a bit of experience, and then running my own business now online. We've got 6 e-commerce businesses I run with my wife. So let's jump right into it. So number 10, one of the reasons why you shouldn't open a food truck is the weather. Now, you're probably thinking, well, Damien, that's kind of silly. What do you mean the weather? There is a great benefit to having a food truck because of its mobility. The idea of having a food truck is pretty much a restaurant on wheels, so you don't have to necessarily be stationary and be a brick and mortar. Then I learned that the hard way when I had my Italian bakery and deli and our sandwich shop we opened up quite a few years ago. Having a brick and mortar was really rigorous to try to get people to come in. Having a food truck is great because it's mobile, but one of the big reasons why food trucks succeed or why true food trucks fail is the purpose of the weather. And it can fluctuate from day to day. And that's something that could make a big problem when you're trying to be profitable running a food truck business, is that if you've got a fantastic event, but comes to find out that that event gets canceled because of rain, snow, or whatever the reason may be, the weather plays a really big role in whether you're going to be profitable or not. And it could be a great weekend event that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday where you're going to be clearing $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 or more, but if the weather has a big factor to do with it, you won't be making any money at all. So one of the disadvantages of owning a food truck is the weather. It fluctuates and goes up and down, which could really impact your profit margin, okay? Next one up. Number 9 is costly spoilage. So this is something that's really interesting because on a food truck, when you are anticipating a certain amount of people to attend a certain event, and you have prepared a certain amount of food, but guess what? The attendance is down dramatically. So you prepared a ton of food to create for your customers, but the actual amount of people that are there is a lot less than you anticipated. Most freshly made ingredients that are prepared for food truck events, or even food trucks in general, they don't have a very long shelf life. So if you've chopped up a lot of vegetables, you've got a lot of salads or a lot of greens, you've got a lot of products that are not necessarily filled with preservatives that are good for a long duration of time, and you have that on your food truck and you don't use it, and your next event is a week away, guess what? Most of those ingredients are not going to work, and that costs you money. But not only money, does it cost you employees that you're paying to help you prep those ingredients, and the ingredients themselves, and the cost to get into the event. So all of these factors come into play. So spoilage of food ingredients is a huge problem, which just eats away at your profit margin. Okay. All right, so number 8. This one's a little tricky because it's always a bit confusing, but permits and licensing confusion over permits and licenses and different types of business licenses that you may have to have. The reason why I say this is that most food trucks travel from city or county to different cities and counties. Most of them will or will not require that you have licenses and permits to operate that specific food truck in their county or even their city. So if you don't have the proper license, it can be very overwhelming and confusing, and that's one of the reasons why most food truck operators, when they first start, get overwhelmed with the idea of maintaining permits, licenses, and such, and they basically give up or they don't even move forward with it. So that is something you need to overcome, or you need to understand is that even though it's a little bit confusing, you need to make sure that you've got the right licensing and permits every single place that you go and basically abide by that. And the other thing is that it costs money. So the more counties, the more cities, the more places that you travel to, you have to have those certain licenses or permit to operate your mobile food business in those counties or cities. That is something that's going to throw you off a track, and it's going to basically make a lot of confusion, and you might just throw your hands up and say, you know what, food truck business is not for me. So number 8 was permits and licensing. All right, so number 7, this can be one of the trickiest financial aspects of your food truck business. It's actually not the starting, it's not the investing, it's not the getting going, it's actually the profit margin in the long run. Profit margin is something, number 7 is profit margin. And that is something that you may not realize it's not as much as you thought, or because like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, spoilage can also offset any profits that you have, okay? Any additional employees that you bring on board for an event that you thought you were gonna do really well in, but you ended up having less attendees and you didn't sell as much, guess what? Those employees still need to be paid. And if they do get paid and you didn't sell as much as you thought, the profit is gonna be considerably cut either in half or even more, and you're not gonna make as much as you thought you were going to, okay? So number 7 is the profit margin. May not be as much as you thought it would be. All right, number 6, another key factor of whether a food truck is successful or not and why you shouldn't open a food truck is employees. Yes, employee turnover actually is the biggest problem. Employees that may not share the passion that you have for your food truck, so employees have a tendency to quit quite frequently and quite often. And I actually know this back a long time ago when I was working in food retail. We had a tremendous amount of turnover in employees. We were hiring employees almost every week and losing them every single month. So finding good employees that will stick with you through thick and thin is a very challenging and daunting task for you to do. Employee turnover is something that affects all of food industry, restaurant, food service, you name it. Turnover is something that it affects the bottom line in a big way, because a lot of people don't realize this when they first started businesses. There is a training period. There is a processing for your employees. When you bring them on board, you show them what to do, you show them the responsibilities. That training process takes up your time. And I know this for a fact because we had to train every employee brand new when they came on board. And that time period is very costly for businesses because you're investing resources, time, money, payroll, and they haven't turned out the amount of production that you need them to do. So they don't produce as much because they're new. So employee turnover on food truck can be a huge impact as to whether or not you're going to succeed. All right, so number 5 is unprepared events. Now, what does this mean? Unprepared events. So you load out and max out your food truck. You've got all the ingredients you think you need. You go to an event and guess what? You do fantastic, but you sold out. And the event is 4 or 5 hours long, let's say 4 or 5, 6, 8 hours, and you're 2 hours in and you have completely come unprepared because you've been overwhelmed by the amount of customers. Guess what? It's a good thing and a bad thing, because it's a good thing you've sold out. The bad thing is you've had a huge gap of time where you could accumulate even more sales, but you have nothing to sell. So when you're unprepared for an event, that's a big problem too, and another reason why you shouldn't start a food truck business, because it's really kind of a balancing act. Having just enough product on hand to sell out, or have enough product on hand that you don't sell out and you end up having to throw it away. Now, if you are close to a commissary kitchen or you're close to an area where you can go back and have one of your employees set up and prep a bunch of other additional ingredients and get back to the event, that's fantastic and that's something you should count on. But if you go to an event and you have only a certain amount of ingredients and you sell out, that's great, but it's also bad because there's also a lot of customers that potentially really wanted your product. It might be tacos, it might be burritos, it might be steaks or chicken sandwiches, whatever it may be. But if you don't have enough for everybody, then you got to pack up your bags and call it a day. So definitely keep that in mind. Number 5. Number 4, trustworthy employees. So we talked a little bit about employee turnover, but guess what? Finding employees who are trustworthy is another problem. Okay, so let's say there's 3 of you. You have the owner, which is you, and you've got 2 employees. They're on the truck and you start missing out on a certain amount of ingredients because one of your employees is basically making himself lunch and finds it necessary to feed himself, but he's not knowing that he's not supposed to be doing that. Or you put somebody in charge of your register and you're not monitoring every single thing because you're not watching that person ring up and they start pocketing a few dollars here and there. Guess what? A few dollars here and there adds up every week and every month and every year, and that's a huge loss for you. So one of the reasons why you shouldn't start a food truck business is that employee trustworthiness is very, very hard to find. If you do find them, they are golden gems, and you should treat them like just that, gold. Because if you can trust them with the register, then you can trust them with pretty much everything. But they have a tendency to have people who skim on a till or end up skimming on some ingredients, and you come up short because you can't make anything else because your employees are eating your food. So that's something that's very, very tricky as well. Number 3, this is something that is gonna kill the idea of having passion to do something over the actual practicality of whether you know how to do it or not. Number 3 is you have no food industry experience. Now, the guy and the husband and wife that's at home that loves to cook for their friends and family is one thing. Operating a food business such as a food truck and having to be profitable and scaling that business into a whole nother thing, that's a totally different story. So if you don't have any food industry experience, whether in the kitchen, chef prepping, or even as a sous chef, or even potentially just in a restaurant at all, or a cafe or a barista, whatever it may be, you need to have some experience. I would highly recommend you do, because before I opened my Italian bakery, I had already been a trained barista. I was a manager for Quiznos during my college years. I also worked as a deli and bakery manager for Target. I also worked at Publix and a couple of other grocery chains. So I had quite a bit of experience before I started that venture and then transitioned to e-commerce. My recommendation to you, if you want to start a food truck, if you don't have any food experience, try to get some. Even if it's probably a year or so before you even really get into it, do that. Because operating a food business, prepping ingredients, having employees, ringing up customers, customer service, etc., that's something that you just can't do off the couch of your house on the weekends barbecuing for your friends, okay? Okay, so number 2, it is a lifestyle. You need to understand a food truck business, to be honest with you, like almost any food business, food truck business is something that is going to affect your whole lifestyle. If you are not up for working at least 12 to 13 hours or 14 hours when you first start every single day, then I highly recommend you think about something else to do. Because any type of food business, for the most part, is gonna take up a tremendous amount of your time. If you've got a family, you've got kids, and you wanna spend time with them and balance all that, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that with a food truck. I personally would say no. Even starting our e-commerce business that we operate now and running my Italian bakery, when I first started, it was about 13 to 14 hours a day for about 7 to 8 months before it even began to cut back slightly. And even after that, it was running a business as a nonstop 24-hour-a-day thing. So keep that in mind. If your lifestyle is not up for you jumping in a food truck and hopping from event to event, prepping ingredients, following guidelines, hiring employees, working with people, that is something that you need to keep in mind, and another reason why you shouldn't open a food truck at all, okay? All right, so lastly, number 1. You're probably thinking, Damien, what could you possibly say for number 1? The past 9 things have been extremely negative, sort of, but number 1, get rich scheme. If you think that running a food truck is going to put $100,000 in your pocket a month when you first start, you need to think again, or just stick to the job that you're doing now. When I started our Italian bakery, I didn't turn a profit for close to a year and a half, or even 2 years in. And I know running an e-commerce business, we were putting in hours and hours before we began to even break even, let alone turning a profit. So if you think that a food truck is glamorous, it's fun, they show you on the Food Network how everyone's quote unquote having so much fun with their food truck, that is nonsense, and that's not reality. The amount of time you put in to start any business upfront is a tremendous amount without even being guaranteed that you're gonna sell anything, let alone the concept that you're actually going to get rich overnight, or you're going to get rich in the next 6 to 7 months and you can sit back and retire. You can survey as many food truck owners as you want, and they're going to tell you if they've been doing it long enough, it's not something that you're going to get rich doing. They do it because of the passion to do it. It has a lot of fun once they are up and running, and they can either break even or they do it part-time. Some people have full-time jobs and they simply run a food truck or a mobile food business on the weekends or for special events. But getting rich with that is not something that's going to happen. So if you're looking to get rich, either play the lottery or get a 6-figure paying job, but it's not gonna happen with a food truck, at least not overnight, okay? So those are my 10 reasons why you shouldn't open a food truck. And if these helped you out, understand the pros and the cons, of course, as always, definitely let me know down below in the comments section. And as well, those are, what are the disadvantages of a food truck business, owning a food truck business? So I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching Marketing Food Online. And if you are looking to create your own food truck, start a home-based food business under the cottage food law, franchise a food operation, start a packaged food business, private label your own food product, sell on Amazon, get your own online store, or sell food online,